Lewis Hamilton is not just one of the most successful drivers in F1 history, he's one of the most talked about, loved, and at times controversial figures in the sport. But how good is he really? Today we're going to find out. Lewis Hamilton's story starts in Stevenage, a modest town in Hertfordshire, England. Born on January 7, 1985, to Carmen Larbalestier and Anthony Hamilton, Lewis grew up in a working-class family where opportunities didn't come easy. Still, Lewis's racing journey began at just 6 years old, when he received his first go-kart as a Christmas present. By the age of 8, Lewis was already competing in karting events, and it didn't take long for him to stand out. In 1993, he joined the Rye House kart circuit, and just 2 years later, at 10 years old, he won the British Cadet Karting Championship, becoming the youngest driver ever to achieve this milestone. One of the most pivotal moments in Lewis's early career came in 1995 at the Autosports Awards. A confident and determined 10-year-old Lewis approached Ron Dennis, the then McLaren team principal, and boldly declared that he wanted to race for McLaren one day. Impressed by Lewis's self-assurance, Dennis wrote in his autograph book, "Call me in 9 years." It didn't even take that long for Lewis to land on Dennis's radar. In 1998, McLaren and Mercedes-Benz signed Lewis to the Young Driver Support Program. This was groundbreaking. Lewis was the youngest driver ever to be signed by a Formula One team at just 13 years old. In his karting career, Lewis won multiple national and international championships. In 2000, he clinched the European Karting Championship, achieving the remarkable feat of winning all 4 rounds of the series. Racing alongside future F1 star Nico Rosberg, Lewis proved he could compete with the best. By the time he transitioned to single-seater cars in 2001, Lewis had already built a reputation as one of the most promising young drivers in motorsport history. Lewis Hamilton's career between 2001 and 2007 was a period of remarkable growth. In 2001, Lewis entered the British Formula Renault Winter Series with Manor Motorsport. Over the course of the 4-race series, he achieved the best finish of 4th place at Donington Park on November 18, 2001. This result contributed to his overall standing of 7th in the championship, with a total of 48 points. The following year, Hamilton secured a full-time seat in the 2002 Formula Renault UK Championship, again with Manor Motorsport. It was a competitive season where he finished 3rd overall, with 3 wins. By 2003, Hamilton returned to the Formula Renault UK Championship as a title favorite, and he did not disappoint. In a display of sheer dominance, he clinched the championship with 10 wins, 11 pole positions, and 13 podium finishes in 15 races. Lewis was so dominant, in fact, that he secured the title before the final rounds, earning him a promotion to British Formula 3. However, his debut in Formula 3 in 2004 was not great to say the least. He finished 5th in the championship. However, a notable highlight of the year was his victory at the prestigious Bahrain F3 Super Prix, giving us a hint of the 2005 season. In 2005, Hamilton moved to the Formula 3 Euro Series with the ASM team, and this decision marked a turning point in his career. Equipped with a competitive car, Lewis absolutely dominated. He won 15 out of the 20 races and secured 13 pole positions. His success extended beyond the series, as he also won the Masters of Formula 3 at Zandvoort, one of the most prestigious F3 events in the world. By the end of the season, Hamilton was the undisputed star of Formula 3. The following year, in 2006, Hamilton graduated to GP2, the final stepping stone before Formula 1. Racing for ART Grand Prix, Lewis won 5 races, including a legendary double victory at Silverstone, his home circuit. Perhaps his most iconic performance came at Istanbul, where he recovered from a mistake that dropped him to 18th place. Still, Lewis managed to make his way through pretty much the entire grid to finish 2nd. These brilliant races helped him secure the GP2 championship in his rookie season, beating seasoned competitors like Nelson Piquet Jr. and Timo Glock. In 2007, Hamilton's career reached its first major pinnacle when McLaren signed him as a full-time Formula 1 driver alongside reigning world champion Fernando Alonso. We've also hit our first major milestone at 1,000 subscribers, but we're trying to get to 5,000 by the end of January 2025, so don't forget to subscribe. Lewis's rookie season was nothing short of sensational. Making his debut at the Australian Grand Prix, he finished 3rd, a podium finish in his first ever Formula 1 race. He followed this up with 2nd place finishes in Malaysia and Bahrain, demonstrating that his podium finish in Melbourne was no fluke. By the 4th race of the season in Spain, Lewis Hamilton finished 2nd, maintaining his incredible streak of podium finishes. His consistent performances catapulted him to the top of the Drivers' Championship standings, a feat never achieved by a rookie before. One of the highlights of Lewis's rookie year was his victory at the Canadian Grand Prix. Taking pole position, Lewis led for most of the race and handled immense pressure to claim his first Formula 1 win. However, Hamilton's battles with his teammate were getting pretty heated. A perfect example of this was the Hungarian Grand Prix. A qualifying run-in with Alonso over track position led to Alonso blocking Lewis in the pit lane, costing Lewis the chance to complete his final qualifying lap. The inability of McLaren to manage this rivalry rivalry effectively became a contributing factor to their failure to win in the championship that year. Compounding this was McLaren's disqualification from the Constructors' Championship due to the infamous Spygate scandal. The scandal erupted when it was discovered that a senior McLaren employee, Mike Coughlin, the team's chief designer, had obtained confidential technical information belonging to his rival team Ferrari. The leak came through Ferrari's own resentful employee, Nigel Stepney, a former performance engineer. In March 2007, Stepney began passing sensitive documents to Coughlin, reportedly because of dissatisfaction with Ferrari's management. These documents included 780 pages of Ferrari's 2007 car design details, information that could provide McLaren with an unfair competitive advantage. The situation came to light when a photocopy shop in Woking, England, reported to Ferrari that an employee of McLaren, Coughlin, had requested copies of Ferrari's confidential documents. Ferrari launched an internal investigation and subsequently filed a complaint with the FIA. Initially, McLaren denied that the stolen information had influenced the design or performance of their car, and an FIA hearing on July 26, 2007 found McLaren guilty of possessing confidential Ferrari data. However, since no clear evidence was presented to prove that McLaren had used this data to gain a competitive advantage, the team escaped without immediate punishment. At the time, McLaren retained their position in the Constructors' Championship. But as more information emerged, the FIA decided to have a second hearing. Leaked internal emails and messages from McLaren drivers revealed discussions about Ferrari data, and this time, McLaren faced severe penalties. As a result, McLaren was disqualified from the 2007 Constructors' Championship and stripped of all their points. The team was fined a staggering $100 million, the largest fine ever imposed in the history of Formula One. Still, McLaren's drivers, Lewis Hamilton and Fernando Alonso, were allowed to retain their Drivers' Championship points as they were not directly implicated in the team's wrongdoing. This allowed Hamilton to continue competing for the title. Despite the controversy, Lewis's rookie year was an absolute statistical anomaly. He became the first rookie to finish on the podium in his first 9 races and set the record for most points scored by a rookie in a season, a mark that stood for over a decade. His consistency was unparalleled, as he completed every race in the points except for one, where an unfortunate crash in China ended his race prematurely. By the end of the season, he secured 4 wins, 12 podiums, and 6 pole positions across 17 races. Lewis finished the season tied on points with Alonso, both just a single point behind eventual champion Kimi Räikkönen. The 2008 Formula One season was a watershed moment for Lewis Hamilton. After narrowly missing the title in his rookie year, Hamilton approached the season with relentless determination, knowing that the capabilities of his McLaren MP4-23 could carry him to glory. Hamilton started the year with an insane season-opening race at the Australian Grand Prix in Melbourne. Leading from pole position, he delivered a commanding performance to secure the victory. Another standout moment of the season came at the Monaco Grand Prix, where Hamilton delivered what many consider one of the finest drives of his career. In treacherous wet conditions, he recovered from an early mistake that left him with a puncture and battled back through the field. His incredible pace in the ever-changing conditions allowed him to take the lead and ultimately the victory. Hamilton's victory at Silverstone, his home Grand Prix, was another high point of the season. He finished over a minute ahead of the nearest competitor, lapping most of the field in the process. This emphatic victory reinforced his reputation as a driver who could find another level in wet weather. As the season reached its climax, the championship battle between Hamilton and Felipe Massa driving for Ferrari intensified. The Brazilian Grand Prix at Interlagos, the final race of the season, became the ultimate decider. Heading into the race, Hamilton held a narrow lead in the standings and needed to finish 5th or higher to secure the title. However, at the end of the race, Hamilton found himself in a precarious position as Massa crossed the finish line first, momentarily taking the championship lead. Hamilton, in 6th place, was stuck behind Timo Glock with 1 lap to go. As rain began to fall, he overtook Toyota's Timo Glock in the final corner to claim 5th place, securing the points he needed to win the championship by a single point. The scenes in the McLaren garage and on the Interlagos circuit were unforgettable, as Hamilton became, at 23 years old, the youngest world champion in F1 history at the time and the first black driver to achieve this feat. His triumph marked the beginning of a legacy that would seem redefine what is possible in Formula One. The 2009 season brought new challenges for Hamilton and McLaren. The introduction of significant regulation changes and a reshuffling of the competitive order left McLaren struggling to develop a competitive car in the early part of the year. The MP4-24 was off the pace compared to rivals like Braun GP and Red Bull Racing, forcing Hamilton to fight hard for every point. Despite the car's limitations, Hamilton achieved 2 victories, one at the Hungarian Grand Prix, where he delivered McLaren's first win of the season, and another in Singapore, where he outpaced rivals in a commanding performance. Over the course of the year, he secured 4 podium finishes and finished 5th in the Drivers' Championship. 2009 was an obvious step back from the glory of the previous year, and everyone was waiting for the 2010 season to see a McLaren comeback. The 2010 Formula 1 season was a pivotal year for Lewis Hamilton, marking his return as a serious contender for the World Championship. McLaren's innovative F-duct aerodynamic system gave Hamilton and teammate Jenson Button an edge on straights, which they took full advantage of. The system worked by directing airflow in a way that temporarily disrupted the rear wing's aerodynamics, making it stall and reducing downforce, which allowed the car to go faster. Drivers manually activated the system by blocking an airflow hole inside the cockpit with their knee. The F-duct was completely passive, meaning it didn't use any moving parts, which made it legal under the new rules at the time. It gave McLaren a significant advantage on fast tracks like Monza in Canada, where straight-line speed was crucial. However, the system required awkward driver movements to activate, and other teams soon copied the idea. With the McLaren engineering ingenuity in full swing, one of the defining moments of Hamilton's 2010 season came at the Turkish Grand Prix. And while you're looking at 2 Red Bulls colliding at the Turkish Grand Prix, let me tell you about Flat-out. Flat-out makes some of the coolest racing merch I've ever seen. Karma, Smooth Operator, the famous Ferrari door, all items are made from high-quality materials and delivered to your door within 5 days. Use the code REVVed and get 20% off your first order. Get your racing merch at Flat-out. By the way, because of the collision, Hamilton was able to get his first win that season. At the Singapore Grand Prix, a pivotal moment unfolded when Hamilton collided with Mark Webber, forcing Lewis to retire from the race. This incident, coupled with mechanical issues and strategic missteps in the subsequent races, cost him valuable points. Ultimately, Hamilton finished the season 4th in the standings, just 16 points behind Vettel, who became the youngest world champion in F1 history. While the title eluded him, Hamilton secured 3 wins, 9 podiums, and 2 pole positions, demonstrating his ability to challenge the best even when not in the fastest car on the grid. The 2011 Formula 1 season brought significant personal and professional challenges for Lewis Hamilton. He started the year with optimism, encouraged by McLaren's efforts to close the performance gap to Red Bull. In the second race of the season, the Chinese Grand Prix, Hamilton delivered a masterful drive to claim his first win of the year. Utilizing bold overtakes and strategic precision, he became the first driver to beat Red Bull that season. However, as the season progressed, Hamilton's campaign became defined by a series of on-track incidents that overshadowed his results. His most notable clashes were, of course, with Ferrari's Felipe Massa. The first of these incidents occurred at the Monaco Grand Prix, where Hamilton attempted an aggressive pass, resulting in contact and a penalty. Hamilton defended his driving, but also expressed frustration at the penalties, even joking after Monaco.
Maybe it's because I'm black. That's what LAG says.
This altercation was followed by similar incidents at Silverstone, Singapore, and Suzuka, earning Hamilton a reputation for risky moves that season. The tension between the two drivers became a recurring storyline, with Massa famously confronting Hamilton after a race in Singapore, sarcastically patting him on the shoulder and saying, "Good job." Off the track, Hamilton was grappling with personal issues that impacted his focus and performance. His high-profile relationship with pop star Nicole Scherzinger faced difficulties, and rumors of a split surfaced midway through the season. Within the team, Hamilton's relationship with McLaren also began to show signs of strain. Jenson Button, his teammate, had a more consistent season, finishing ahead of Hamilton in the championship standings and emerging as a stronger competitor than many had anticipated. Although both drivers publicly maintained a professional relationship, rumors circulated that Hamilton wasn't happy with the team's strategic decision and felt overshadowed by Button's successes. Adding to the tension were whispers that Hamilton was considering leaving McLaren. A speculation about a possible move to Red Bull or Ferrari dominated headlines, fueled by Hamilton's own comments about exploring new challenges. While McLaren publicly expressed their commitment to Hamilton, it was clear that the relationship was entering a period of uncertainty. The 2012 season, with all its frustrations and triumphs, became a turning point in Hamilton's career. The season began on a promising note. Lewis secured pole position in the season-opening Australian Grand Prix and in the following 2 races, demonstrating the raw pace of the McLaren MP4-27. At the Canadian Grand Prix, he showcased his trademark aggressive but calculated driving style, winning the race with a brilliant strategy that saw him overtake rivals in the final laps. Another standout performance came at the Hungarian Grand Prix, where Hamilton led from start to finish, executing a flawless race to claim his second victory of the season. Yet, for every moment of triumph, there was crushing disappointment waiting for him. For example, at the Singapore Grand Prix, Hamilton was leading comfortably when his car suffered a gearbox failure, forcing him to retire. This was one of several mechanical failures during the season, including engine and fuel pressure issues that cost him valuable points. By the season's end, Hamilton had retired from 5 races, often while in strong positions, leaving him frustrated. McLaren's repeated mistakes in strategy, pit stops, and reliability eroded Hamilton's confidence in the team's ability to deliver a championship-winning campaign. Adding to the friction was an infamous incident during the Belgian Grand Prix weekend, when Hamilton posted sensitive team telemetry data on Twitter. The move, meant to justify his performance compared to Button's, was seen as a breach of trust. McLaren criticized Hamilton, and the fallout became apparent. By mid-season, reports suggest that Mercedes, under the leadership of Ross Brawn and with significant backing from Niki Lauda, were courting Hamilton with the promise of building a team around him. The prospect of joining a team with long-term ambitions and manufacturer backing, coupled with the opportunity to escape the mounting pressure at McLaren, proved irresistible. In 2013, Mercedes were still finding its feet as a constructor, having only returned to the sport in 2010. Hence, Hamilton's debut season with Mercedes in 2013 was solid, but unspectacular by his standards. He claimed one victory in Hungary and finished 4th in the Drivers' Championship. The car, while an improvement over previous seasons, still wasn't a match for the dominant Red Bulls driven by Sebastian Vettel. However, there were signs that Mercedes was on the verge of something special. Hamilton secured 5 podium finishes and 2 pole positions that year. The 2014 season marked the dawn of a new era in Formula 1 with the introduction of hybrid power units, and it couldn't have come at a better time for Mercedes. The team had invested heavily in developing the most advanced hybrid technology, and their car, the W05, was head and shoulders above the competition. Hamilton was perfectly positioned to capitalize on this opportunity. The season was a 2-horse race between Hamilton and his teammate Nico Rosberg. The pair won 16 of the 19 races that year, with Hamilton claiming 11 victories to Rosberg's 5. The title fight came down to the final race in Abu Dhabi, where Hamilton secured the win and his 2nd world championship. Hamilton won 384 points, led 495 laps, and took 7 pole positions. Mercedes, as a team, claimed 16 wins and scored 701 points, firmly establishing themselves as the team to beat in the hybrid era. In 2015, Hamilton continued his dominance. The W06 was even more refined than its predecessor, and Hamilton used it to full effect, winning 10 races and clinching the championship with 3 races to spare. By the end of 2015, Hamilton enjoyed an elite group of 3-time world champions, equaling the likes of Ayrton Senna, a driver he idolized. The 2016 season was a roller coaster, with Hamilton and his Mercedes teammate Nico Rosberg trading victories and the championship lead multiple times. Hamilton suffered from mechanical issues early in the season, which put him on the back foot, but he fought back with wins in Monaco, Silverstone, and Brazil. The 2016 Brazilian Grand Prix was indeed a standout moment in Lewis Hamilton's career and one of his most iconic performances. The race took place under torrential rain, creating treacherous conditions. Hamilton started the race from pole position, having delivered a stunning lap in qualifying. Despite the challenging conditions, Hamilton drove a flawless race. Hamilton crossed the line first, claiming his first ever victory at the Brazilian Grand Prix. The win was his 9th of the 2016 season, and a crucial one, as it kept his championship hopes alive heading into the final race in Abu Dhabi. The 2016 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, held on November 27, 2016, was the culmination of a fierce title battle between Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg. Heading into the race, Rosberg led the Drivers' Championship by 12 points, meaning Hamilton needed to win the race with Rosberg finishing 4th or lower to claim the title. Hamilton dominated qualifying and secured pole position. Rosberg, knowing he only needed to finish on the podium to secure his first world championship, qualified 2nd, ensuring he was well placed to protect his lead. At the start of the race, Hamilton maintained his lead, while Rosberg slotted into 2nd, with Red Bull's Daniel Ricciardo and Ferrari's Sebastian Vettel behind him. For much of the race, Rosberg drove conservatively, focusing on keeping his position rather than challenging Hamilton. Realizing that simply winning the race would not be enough to take the title, Hamilton adopted a controversial strategy in the final laps. He deliberately slowed his pace at the front, attempting to back Rosberg into the chasing pack of Vettel and Max Verstappen. Hamilton's hope was that one or both of them could overtake Rosberg, dropping him to 4th place and handing Hamilton the championship. Despite repeated instructions from the Mercedes pit wall to increase his pace, Hamilton refused to comply, telling the team, "I'm losing the championship, so I'm not really bothered if I lose this race." The standoff created insane tension, and Mercedes feared Hamilton's actions might jeopardize a 1-2 finish for the team. However, Rosberg displayed remarkable composure. He defended his position from Vettel, who closed in rapidly on fresher tires in the final laps and managed to hold on to 2nd place, crossing the line behind Hamilton. Hamilton won the race, his 10th victory of the season, but it was not enough. Rosberg's 2nd place finish ensured he won the Drivers' Championship by a margin of 5 points. It was Rosberg's first and only world championship, as he announced his surprise retirement from Formula 1 just days after the race. With Rosberg out, 2017 introduced Valtteri Bottas as Hamilton's new teammate, and Ferrari emerged as a legitimate challenger. Sebastian Vettel led the early championship race, but Hamilton's consistent brilliance turned the tide. However, Hamilton's brilliant performances like the Singapore Grand Prix, where he won the race after starting from 5th, allowed him to claim his 4th title with 9 wins and 363 points. The 2018 season followed a similar narrative. Vettel and Ferrari pushed hard early on, but Hamilton's relentless precision and racecraft made the difference. His win in Germany, coming from 14th on the grid, was a standout. By the end of the season, he collected 11 wins and claimed his 5th championship. At this point, comparisons to Michael Schumacher were no longer premature. Hamilton was rewriting the record books. 2019 marked the beginning of a new chapter in Hamilton's dominance. While Mercedes faced occasional challenges from Ferrari and Red Bull, Hamilton's consistency was unmatched. He won 11 races, including a memorable battle in Monaco, where he held off Max Verstappen despite tire wear. His 6th World Championship tied him with Juan Manuel Fangio, placing him firmly in the realm of the sport's legends. In 2020, despite the shortened season, Hamilton delivered one of his most dominant performances. He won 11 of the 17 races, including a remarkable victory in Turkey, where he clinched his 7th championship. Starting from 6th on the grid in tricky conditions, Hamilton showed why he's considered one of the best wet-weather drivers in history. With this title, he equaled Michael Schumacher's record of 7 World Championships. Statistically, the numbers from 2014 to 2020 are staggering. Hamilton won 73 races, secured 74 pole positions, and amassed over 2,600 points during this period. He consistently outperformed his teammates and often left his competition in the dust. Beyond the numbers, Hamilton's influence on the sport grew. He became a vocal advocate for diversity, environmental issues, and social justice, using his platform to bring attention to causes he cared about. Initiatives like the Hamilton Commission, aimed at increasing diversity in motorsport, showed his commitment to making a lasting impact both on and off the track. For the first time in the turbo hybrid era, Mercedes faced a genuine threat from Red Bull Racing 2021. Verstappen, armed with a competitive RB16B car, mounted a consistent challenge to Hamilton, marking the start of an intense battle. The season quickly developed into a two-way fight for the championship, with both drivers trading wins, pole positions, and moments of controversy. The rivalry reached a boiling point at Silverstone when Hamilton and Verstappen collided on the opening lap. Attempting to overtake Max at Copse Corner, Hamilton clipped the rear of Verstappen's car, sending him into the barriers at high speed. Max retired from the race, while Hamilton went on to win despite receiving a time penalty. The incident ignited a war of words between Mercedes and Red Bull, with both teams accusing the other of reckless behavior. Another flashpoint came at Monza, where the two drivers collided again, this time taking both out of the race. Verstappen's car came to rest on top of Hamilton's Mercedes after contact in the chicane, with Hamilton narrowly avoiding injury thanks to the Halo device. In the second-to-last race of the season, Verstappen and Hamilton clashed repeatedly on the tight and chaotic Jeddah street circuit. Max was penalized for forcing Hamilton off track, and later for a bizarre incident where he appeared to brake unexpectedly, causing Hamilton to run into the back of him. Heading into the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, Verstappen and Hamilton were tied on points, something that hadn't happened since 1974. The stakes were immense. Max was aiming for his first world championship, while Hamilton was chasing a record-breaking 8th title. Hamilton started strongly, overtaking Max in the opening lap and building a comfortable lead. The race seemed to be in Hamilton's control until a late race incident brought out a safety car. With a few laps remaining, Nicholas Latifi crashed, prompting a chain of events that would forever change the course of the championship. Race director Michael Masi made a controversial decision regarding the handling of the safety car. Initially, lap cars were instructed not to unlap themselves, which would have left several back markers between Hamilton and Verstappen. However, in a last-minute reversal, Masi allowed only the cars between the two title contenders to unlap themselves, setting up a one-lap shootout. Verstappen, on fresh tires after pitting during the safety car, had a massive advantage over Hamilton, who remained on old tires. On the final lap, Max overtook Hamilton in a dramatic move to win the race and secure his first world championship. The decision by the race director to restart the race under these conditions drew immediate protests from Mercedes, who argued that the rules had not been properly followed. While the protests were dismissed, I firmly believe the entire situation was properly insane. Why would you let only select cars unlap themselves? I just think Masi got tired of seeing Hamilton winning for so many years straight and did his best to stop the vicious cycle. The 2022 season brought sweeping regulatory changes designed to improve on-track competition and reduce the performance gap between teams. These changes included new aerodynamic designs, larger wheels, and a shift to ground effect cars. Mercedes, which had dominated since 2014, approached the new rules with an ambitious and radical design for the W13, featuring an innovative zero side pod concept that turned heads in preseason testing. However, optimism quickly faded as it became clear that the W13 had significant issues. The car suffered from porpoising, or in simple terms, bouncing. The extent of Mercedes' struggles became evident in the following races. The W13's porpoising not only hampered its performance, but also made it physically demanding for Hamilton, who often complained of back pain after races. Adding to the frustration was the performance of Hamilton's new teammate, George Russell, who adapted quickly to the challenging W13 and consistently outperformed Hamilton in the early part of the season. Russell's consistency and top 5 finishes highlighted Mercedes' potential when the car was optimized, but it also fueled speculation about Hamilton losing his edge. Despite their early season struggles, Mercedes refused to give up. The team worked tirelessly to understand and resolve the issues with the W13, gradually improving its performance. And it worked! At the Hungarian Grand Prix, Hamilton charged from 7th on the grid to finish 2nd. In Brazil, Hamilton and Russell delivered a historic 1-2 finish, with Russell taking his maiden win and Hamilton finishing 2nd after an aggressive drive. The result marked Mercedes' first win of the season. However, Hamilton's title hopes were never realistic in 2022, as the car's limitations and Red Bull's dominance left him out of contention. For the first time in his career, Hamilton ended the season without a single victory or pole position, a stark contrast to his previous years of success. Mercedes finished 3rd in the Constructors' Championship, a clear indication of their fall from grace. The 2023 season began with hopes that the W14, Mercedes' new car, would correct the issues that plagued its predecessor. The team retained the controversial zero sidepod design philosophy, but claimed it had been refined for better performance. However, from the opening race in Bahrain, it became clear that Mercedes still lagged behind Red Bull, who debuted the RB19, a car that continued their dominance with Max Verstappen. Hamilton expressed disappointment early on, stating that the team didn't listen to his input during the car's development. The W14, though improved, still suffered from a lack of downforce, understeer issues, and inconsistent performance across different circuits. Red Bull's overwhelming pace left little room for optimism, with Verstappen seemingly in a league of his own. However, Mercedes' significant mid-season upgrade package introduced in Monaco altered the sidepod design, signaling a departure from the original concept. The changes brought noticeable improvements, allowing Mercedes to close the gap to Ferrari and establish themselves as the second-best team in the Constructors' Championship standings. Still, throughout the season, rumors swirled about Hamilton's future in Formula 1. With his contract set to expire at the end of 2023, speculation grew that Hamilton might consider leaving Mercedes if the team could not deliver a competitive car. Ferrari, in particular, was rumored to be courting Hamilton, with reports suggesting a potential blockbuster offer. Hamilton finished 4th in the Drivers' Championship standings, behind Verstappen, Sergio Perez, and Fernando Alonso, marking another season without a victory, the second consecutive year without a win for the 7-time world champion. Mercedes entered 2024 with high hopes. After 2 seasons of playing catch-up, the team promised a car that would address the fundamental weaknesses of the W13 and W14, with a revamped design philosophy that aimed to close the gap to Red Bull. The W15 showed flashes of potential in pre-season testing, with Hamilton expressing cautious optimism about the car's improved handling and reduced bouncing issues. However, it quickly became apparent that while the W15 was more competitive than its predecessors, it still lagged behind Red Bull's dominant RB20 and Ferrari's resurgent SF25. In February 2024, Hamilton activated a release clause in his contract, allowing him to depart from Mercedes at the end of the 2024 season to join Ferrari for the 2025 season. To add to the total shock his Ferrari move inflicted on the entire F1 community, Hamilton started delivering strong performances early in the season with the new Mercedes. He secured a 4th place finish in Canada and a podium in Spain. The standout moments came at the British Grand Prix, where Hamilton secured a remarkable victory in front of his home crowd. His record-breaking 9th win at Silverstone was a moment of triumph for the team and an emotional boost for Hamilton. The mid-season brought another high point at the Belgian Grand Prix, where Hamilton clinched his 2nd victory of the season after a commanding drive. But there was no coming back from it at this point. At the final race of the 2024 season in Abu Dhabi, Hamilton delivered a strong performance, finishing 4th after starting 16th on the grid. While Mercedes secured 4th place in the Constructors' Championship, this season marked the end of Hamilton's successful 12-year tenure with Mercedes. So, how good is Lewis Hamilton actually? Well, he was exceptional 5 years ago, but at 39 years old, I just don't think he can keep up with younger drivers anymore. But I firmly believe he's got at least one more dominant year left in him. On the racing side, Hamilton thrived across vastly different eras of Formula 1, from V8s to hybrids, from grooved tires to slicks, and from the days of heavy refueling to modern tire management strategies. Few drivers in history have been so versatile. His racecraft is also exceptional. Whether it's his clinical overtakes, brilliant defensive driving, or mastery of wet weather conditions, Hamilton has repeatedly demonstrated an ability to outthink and outperform his rivals. That's the edge you get only by racing for so many years straight. In terms of pure stats, Hamilton's record rivals or surpasses legends like Michael Schumacher and Ayrton Senna. But what truly sets him apart is his ability to inspire. He's broken barriers as F1's first black driver, leading by example and showing that the sport can and should be for everyone. The only question for me remains, can Lewis Hamilton collect an 8th world title with Ferrari and complete his journey, or will he fall into mediocrity while trying? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.